Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. It's NMeade here. August 2020 is now in the books, which means we have a new month to review for world records. August 2020 was a bit of a quieter month compared to July, but we still had 5 world records across 3 different tracks. Let's get started. Starting off August 2020, we have some activity on both categories for Mushroom Gorge. Beginning with the no glitch activity, we saw the first sub 141 on the Mushroom Gorge no glitch category. On August 2nd, Connor would set his first world record on this track, beating Luke's previous world record by 90 milliseconds, and setting the first 140 on Mushroom Gorge no glitch, with a time of 1:40.959. On the last day of August, Daniel will be the second person to get a 140 world record on Mushroom Gorge no glitch, beating Connor's world record by 31 milliseconds, with a time of 1:40.928 on August 31st. Starting off of Connor's run, Connor has been floating around the Mushroom Gorge no glitch worldwide top 10 after the addition of the hopless gorge cut strategy being implemented back in April. And I remember Connor setting some new personal bests from the 141.3 to the 141.1 territory. For this run, Connor says the run itself is a little bit scuffed in his opinion due to all the weird things that happen in the run, and he lists each of these moments for this run. First, there's the odd angle into the set of 3 mushrooms on lap 1. Second, he had crazy mushroom skips on laps 1 and 2 in this run. And third, Connor getting the horrible bounces on the lap 2 main turbo. And fourth, Connor got a really bad low trick onto the green mushroom before the mushroom skip on lap 2. With the errors on lap 2 alone, Connor estimates he lost approximately 100 milliseconds from lap 2. An honorable mention as well to not getting the full chain wheelie into the cave section on all 3 laps. Despite how little time is spent after chaining your wheelie before starting this drift, this actually adds up to be a good chunk of time considering how optimized this is becoming now. All in all, with these factors outlined, Connor feels there is still a lot of room to save time from the 1:40.959, and still feels that this run can go down to a 1:40.7, but that would take a run of a lifetime. Even then, this is quite an epic accomplishment getting a 140 on Mushroom Gorge no glitch. If you guys look back on the world record history for this category from 10 years ago until now, a lot has changed. Going from drifting tricks to reduce airtime on the mushrooms instead of simply tricking off them straightforward, adding the double main turbo in the cave section, optimizing the actual mushroom tricks in the cave, and eventually adding in the mushroom skip on all 3 laps, and from the primitive wheelie shroom gorge cut to doing the hopless gorge shrooms, going in between the mushroom stalks, and doing the spin drift hop gorge shroom strategy to end lap 3, there's been a lot of tech thrown into this category, with the end result being in the 140 territory for Mushroom Gorge no glitch now. Connor's personal best splits at the time of receiving his feedback earlier on were 33.738, 33.578, and 33.520, with noting all of these laps can be pushed down further, and his personal best pace at the time of receiving his feedback was a 33.788 and 33.615 pace into lap 3. And Connor had his beginnings in the time trial scene on arguably the most technique heavy track in the game, being DK Snowboard Cross, then setting several world records on Grumble Volcano No Shortcut, which had much tech and nuance as well, and also setting a world record on GCN Waluigi Stadium no glitch, which is in contention with being the most technique heavy track in the game alongside DK Snowboard Cross. Connor has really excelled at all these technique heavy tracks, and it is no surprise he was able to clutch out the record here. Congratulations to you, Connor, for your achievement, and good luck on your future attempts. Next, we head to Daniel's world record at the end of August. Daniel completes a 6-month grind of Mushroom Gorge no glitch, diligently playing and streaming his attempts frequently, trying to clutch out the world record here, and his efforts finally paid off. Daniel says overall it felt like a huge weight being lifted when setting this record, being able to finally say he had the world record on this track. Daniel says he knew he had it back in the 141.6 to the 142.4 territory, but was not trusted at the time. In brief, in 2012, Cole created a program that was able to screen ghosts for using rapid fire in time trial records, and many high-level time trialers were caught using rapid fire back then. Daniel had a run back then that was a world record for GBA Bowser Castle 3 that Daniel says used rapid fire and live replay. He confirmed this back when it was identified 8 years ago at that point, and now says it was a mistake by his younger self. Fast forward now 8 years later, we require all records to be set while on CTGP, which has anti-cheating parameters built in place as a safeguard to screen times that are cheated and is our current gold standard to screen for legitimate times. As mentioned, Daniel has been hard at work the past 6 months grinding for the world record on Mushroom Gorge no glitch, streaming all of his attempts, and actually setting this current world record live on stream as well. This is such an immense grind, staying dedicated to one goal, so massive props to sticking it through in the end, Daniel. Daniel says he had around 8 140.8 fails before setting his first 140 time, and continuing to push down his best splits in the process. For Daniel's run, Daniel says it has some pretty bad errors, highlighting the missed slip drift in the cave section lap 1, and then some bounces on the first turn of laps 2 and 3, which cost some time. The lap 3 in Daniel's run ended up being his new personal best split at the time, but unfortunately both laps 1 and 2 were pretty awful for Daniel's standards, he mentions, saying that he normally hits mid to high 33.7s on lap 1 and mid to high 33.5s on lap 2. So both of the laps in this run were around 50 milliseconds off his target pace. Daniel says it would have been nice to have set the first 140 run here, but Connor beat him to it this time. But overall is still happy that he was able to have a period of time holding both a kart world record and a bike world record at the same time, with Daniel actually holding the kart world record on this track as well, which is a really cool milestone to achieve. Looking forward for Mushroom Gorge no glitch, Daniel says he has sights to beat Connor and maybe push for a 140.7 time, depending on how he feels. But after his massive grind, he does not feel as pressured to anymore, since he hit his overall goal of getting the world record at least once. For the current strategies used, Daniel feels we won't see much better than a 33-700, 33-500, and 33-450 paced run being driven, as there are so many little things that need to be done perfectly at this point. Daniel feels an absolute limit would be a high 140.6 run, with the current strategies being used. Commenting he is not sure how much gas in the tank Connor has left, but Daniel himself does not see himself getting lower than a 140.7 at best. Daniel says he had runs that were a good 75 milliseconds or so ahead of Luke's 33.732 lap 1, so Daniel feels lap 1 can go down to a low 33.6 at maximum, lap 2 going down to a 33.450, and lap 3 going down to a low 33.400. And even then, reiterating that hitting all of these things perfectly across all 3 laps in one run would be absolutely nuts. The current best known splits as of today's upload date give a time of 1:46.45, with Daniel recently hitting a new best known split on lap 3 of 33.439. Big congrats to both Daniel and Connor on your achievements, and good luck to you both on further improvements. Now we head to some glitch activity on Mushroom Gorge this month. Bryce improved his own world record on August 3rd by 15 milliseconds with a time of 25.19. Bryce made a massive cut of almost half a second to the world record here and setting the first 20-second time on Mushroom Gorge glitch back in March 2020. In the March 2020 video reviewing that improvement, Bryce explained the different types of lap transitions and keeping track of his best splits depending on the type of lap transition he gets. That will be linked in the description if you'd like to see these explanations further. For Bryce's new improvement this month, Bryce says that this is the most random world record he has ever set, and a week after setting this run, he is not time trialed at all since then, since he just started college. With that being said, Bryce has plans to try and push for the 19-second time when he plays next. Bryce says the lap 2 in this run carried the run hard, with the air transition into lap 2 being really good. And as mentioned with the March 2020 video explaining some of the nuances of different lap transitions here, Bryce says the lap 2 is even better than the lap split says, which is already really good since it got a delayed lap count into lap 3. Bryce said he recently edited a few of his best pace fails for Mushroom Gorge that all failed at the end of lap 2. In all 3 of these best pace fails, he would end up getting 19.4 second times with only low optimization when modifying these fails. That should directly speak to how much more room there is here, despite how difficult, of course, it is to optimize these runs now. Even reflecting on the world record history here, we've seen some massive jumps in the records and also seeing some of the smaller time cuts as we see here as well this month. And with that said, I think the first 19-second time for Mushroom Gorge, we will inevitably see another massive leap like how the first 20-second time was done by Bryce earlier this year. The current best known splits give a time of 18.880 as of today's upload date. Congratulations on your improvement here, Bryce, and good luck for future improvements when you return to playing once more. Next up, we head to DS Delfino Square. Also on August 3rd, with Bryce's improvement, Luke would improve his own record by 88 milliseconds with a time of 2:04.208, barely missing the 2:04.1 mark. Luke says this run overall was driven very nicely throughout, having only 3 main flaws. Number 1 being the bridge on lap 1, specifically the landing and losing speed hopping over the grass. We can see how much time this actually lost comparing it versus his previous record, with this entire sequence clearly losing a decent amount of time. Number 2, the last turn on lap 2 was very bad simply from hopping too late, and once more we can see how much time this did lose comparing it versus Luke's previous record here. To the untrained eye, if some of you have not heavily time trialed this track, this hop is deceptively hard to time properly. The goal is to time your hop so that you land flush with the top of the angled road to quickly soft drift your preceding main turbo into the next lap. If you hop too late, like in Luke's run here, you're airborne more than desired, landing further than desired, and if you don't charge the main turbo fast enough, you can get thrown in really odd directions if your main turbo is released in this slightly angled part of the road, or simply you miss the main turbo altogether and the run ends. At its core, this is really a blind hop at this point, and you need to have the muscle memory to know the right timing of the hop to land flush on the top of the road to take this last turn optimally. Definitely one of the most underrated turns on this course for sure. And number 3, Luke says the second chain on lap 3 did not save as much time because of the bounces at the top of the hill. This is unfortunately a run ender depending on how severe the bounces you incur from the transition. Sometimes you can go flat without any bounces, all the way to getting massive air and getting multiple bounces upon landing, which loses far too much time and can be an instant reset at this level now. Luke says overall this track is very fun and satisfying to drive, being one of his favorite tracks to drive. Luke says this track can certainly be momentum based, with one mistake requiring a few turns to course correct in the run. The hardest part for Luke on this track is definitely the bridge on laps 1 and lap 2, Luke says. For lap 1 you have to hop at a specific time to get the low bridge, and delay the trick on top of that as much as possible, further reducing your air time. And lap 2 being different than lap 1, as you have to do a drifting trick off the top, as the position of the bridge is much higher than lap 1. On lap 1, the drawbridge is actively rising, whereas on lap 2, the drawbridge is already at its peak position before it starts going down again. All in all, Luke feels a low to mid 204.1 is a realistic limit with the current strategies being used. Forecasting where attempts can go down the line, Luke does mention an unused strategy being the shroomless dock skip, which could be done on all 3 laps, having potential to save at least 300 milliseconds or more per lap if optimized. Luke says it is extremely difficult and only a small handful of players have made it, but no one to his knowledge has managed to save time with the recovery. But if it's used and is optimized all 3 laps, Luke feels a mid to high 202 at best could be done with implementing this strategy. And this dock strategy has actually been known for quite some time now. The main issue I've heard from players who have tried this in the past is it's not even clearing this gap here to the other side. The problem starts when you need to get from where you land into the shortcut and complete the entire shortcut without hitting any walls. And although you may see the majority of the world records in this game being driven with the Bowser bike. It does not have the absolute best driving and handling compared to other bikes. However, with that in mind, using better alternatives for this strategy, such as Daisy Mach Bike or Baby Daisy and Bullet Bike, the time you save from pulling this off is essentially negated from how much time both combinations lose everywhere else on the track all 3 laps. And even with all that in mind, we've seen many insane feats accomplished in this game in real time, and this strategy will be no different in my opinion. Eventually, there will come a time when players start grinding this out and eventually make it work to drop this track even further. And we would definitely see at least the 2:03 time barrier being met with implementing this strategy. The current best known splits as of today's upload date total a time of 2:04.073, with all 3 laps not using the aforementioned dock skip for the moment, and Luke's lap 3 and this new record being the new best known split for lap 3 as well. Congratulations to you, Luke, on your improvement with as big of a cut as this is over your former world record, and good luck on future improvements if you decide to improve further. Heading now to the last world record improvement of August 2020, we cool things down in the frozen tundra of N64 Sherbet Land, folks. Arthur sets his first world record on N64 Sherbet Land glitch, beating Takemi's former world record by close to 1 second by 846 milliseconds on August 13th, with a time of 1:16.907, setting the first 1:16 on Sherbet Land glitch. Arthur says this run comes from a 2-hour session he had on stream. Arthur actually had a few runs that were 2 for 3 potential during this run, but nothing was conclusive, Arthur says. Eventually, it comes down to this run before ending his stream, being tired and not focused anymore, and this was his last attempt of the session. And for this last attempt, Arthur took his time to set up the first glitch and made it. And even with making the glitch on lap 1, Arthur was not focused on his driving, as after the penguin on lap 2, he almost restarted the run because he knew he lost a lot of time. But since this was his last attempt, he figured let's try a 2 for 3 for fun. For fun, right? And miraculously, he made it. Arthur said it took him a few seconds to realize that he clipped it again, and even with his 2 for 3 run, he did not expect this run to be the world record at all, but the lap 3 clutched this improvement. And I personally love when players keep stats of their attempts for improvements, especially as specific as Arthur is. Arthur said he counted all of his attempts he did before getting a 2 for 3 run, and this was actually his 6,214th attempt overall for the category, and specifically his 73rd 2 for 3 attempt. That is crazy. Taking a deep dive now for Arthur's run, lap 1 was slow for Arthur's standard, with Arthur thinking this is the slowest lap 1 he has driven, usually having a high 12 or low 13 second lap on lap 1. As Arthur mentioned previously, this was his last attempt of the session, so he took his time on the setup to have a better chance at a clip. The landing was good, and the line after the main turbo was good as well. For lap 2, Arthur got bounces after the first turn, which cost him at least 100 milliseconds. After this, he took the shroomless fairly wide, knowing this could have been done tighter. The chain wheelies were not good, only getting a half chain on the straight lap 2, and mentions the penguin before the cave disturbed him, saying normally his lap 1 is faster, so the penguins before the cave aren't an issue. However, for this run, the penguin was right in the middle of his path, so he needed to maneuver his way around to avoid it as best as he could. The cave section could have been better with better turns and lines, and unfortunately the main turbo fail after the cave. Arthur estimates cost around 500 milliseconds. The last turn entering lap 3 was good for Arthur, with lap 3 having almost everything done well. The only thing that was improvable this lap was the setup, which Arthur says he could gain 1 second. That may sound like a lot of time, but looks are deceiving. You can just commit to one angle, back up and shroom right away to save the most amount of time, instead of taking more time for the setup. And trust me, a lot of time can pass by without realizing it if you just sit there too long, setting up your angle for your clip attempt. Arthur says his personal best splits are currently 12.643, 42.713, and 18.858, totaling a time of 1:14.214. Arthur says he can improve his driving overall with the lines and wheelies, taking the shroomless cut tighter, and as mentioned previously, going quicker, spending less time on the alignment for each pole clip. Arthur says he is not done with this track and category as of yet, wanting to try and push it to a high 114 if he can. Commenting with good driving and fast glitches, it is doable. Now, I feel I've mentioned this a lot for several players this year, but what an epic way to set your first world record on a category like this, with how difficult this is. And in addition, Arthur actually goes for a different strategy this time, with going for the pole clip glitch on laps 1 and 3, as opposed to laps 1 and 2. I thought it was quite amusing seeing the ghost comparison versus Takemi's former world record here, with how far apart they are on the track, with using different strategies, and how they eventually converge at the last part of the track before the finish line. This track went through a revolution with discoveries in May 2019, allowing a 2-for-3 glitch run to be possible humanly, and I'll link that month's video in the description as well if you guys want to relive the moments leading to the crazy activity this went through back then. Your grind has paid off, Arthur, setting your first world record here, and it sounds like you're very determined to make some more progress here. So congratulations to you, Arthur. Enjoy the achievement of your first world record, you've earned it, and good luck on your future improvements here. With August 2020 in the books, we are officially at 75 world records set in 2020 thus far, averaging just over 9 records per month in the first 8 months of 2020. We had new milestones reached with the first 140 world records on Mushroom Gorge no glitch, the first 116 on Sherbet Land glitch, further optimizations for Mushroom Gorge glitch and DS Delfino Square, and we saw the first French world record set in 6 years since 2014, and the 12th Irish world record overall since 2008, with the last Irish world record being set in 2019, and before that being set all the way back in 2011. We now head into the last 4 months of 2020, with certainly more time for more records to be set and limits to be surpassed. And I would like to thank all of you very much for watching as always and supporting the channel. It is always my hope that you all are enjoying these videos most of all. If you like these videos and want to see more like this on the way, please do give the video a like, as it helps spread the videos to more people who would also enjoy these videos. And subscribe if you have not done so already to keep up with the latest video uploads. Thank you all once more, and I'll be seeing all of you in the next video, where we will review the world record activity for September 2020. Take care.